Hello, we are here. Almost like going to church. I don't know about that sound there, but that was our intro.
Praying for the best.
Yeah, we are doing that, and I'm just checking now, so the stream is on. I hope so. I see. I'm checking on my YouTube, so I want to make sure that we are live. Or otherwise it might go make a new video from this. I hope that it would be no. We I will check Facebook, so then we have it there. Just hold on. We had some technical issues here in the beginning, but now yeah, I'm live on Facebook. I'm live on YouTube. Yes. We are actually live on a different
Awesome.
than the event I made. Yes, we are actually. Now I hear myself, but we are live there. I have to update the LinkedIn. So just 1 minute, and we are set to go. Edit. That's the right link. Save changes, and now everyone can find us and go find the right link on YouTube. All right, ready to go. Good Friday evening, at least where I am. And I have my good friend Ayan here with me.
I
We are
guess.
both into coaching and personal development. And how's it where you are? You're a little bit behind me,
Yeah,
right?
we're 2 hours behind you, so it's just gone 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and unusually for starts of February, actually quite mild and dry and sunny. So no complaints from me on that score.
Mm. Yeah, it was sunny here also today, but now it's dark at this time. It's 5 o'clock here now, so but the sun was shining and it was quite nice. It was nice weather today.
I'll send some more
Mm.
sun your way.
Mm. Do that. Do that. Mm. Light is fine, but it shouldn't be too warm. I like when it's minus and a lot of snow. I like that.
I'll come over and visit
Uh,
soon.
what?
I'll come over and visit soon.
Yeah, we, we have interesting, like funny thing around the weather and the temperature, because we had like minus 30 a month ago, and it's just really cold. And I said we have -4 today, and I said that that's extremely cold to him already. So
Well, this is thermal stuff for me. I would need to go out wearing 12 layers if it was that chilly.
mm.
Just too
Yeah, and
much.
and you were talking about your friend, a friend of yours, but this friend of yours that said that he was sensitive to the cold, and I don't know. You seems to be quite sensitive also. I'm not sure if it's if you are the same person or not, but
Actually, quite a few people wondered that, but at the end of the day, it's whether we can't do much about it. It's something that's beyond our influence. Well, we can hope, but that's as far as we can go. Whereas what we're going to talk about today is definitely within our influence, even if we don't always
mm,
realize it. The weather is what it is.
yes, it is what it is, and we are not here today to talk about the weather, but we want to have some sort of introduction here.
It's an
And
icebreaker.
people from Britain are quite famous for talking about the weather, or is that some kind of is that belief that I have, which is true somehow or somewhat.
Well, and I'm using that term in a very generalistic way, we do like to talk about the weather because it's a good icebreaker. And especially if we're doing something we also like complaining about, which is waiting for a bus or waiting for a train if we think we're waiting too long. Especially if we're waiting at a bus stop, people are going to say, isn't it cold? Isn't it wet? Isn't it windy? And so on and so forth. Because at that moment, because we are all in each other's company, it's something that we can talk about. And we've enjoyed it and again, I'm talking generalistically, since way before my time. I think it goes back to since the beginning of time. Probably when the Sky Chief first decided to start giving us the weather according to his or her or their whims at the time, and it's just stuck.
Yeah, and you, maybe this is a good connection to this, that you have some interesting roles, characters, which, and some of them are connected to the weather. I have seen them, and I don't know if you other people have seen them. They have been visible on the shorts, or what they are called, on Facebook there, and Ian pops up here and there, and you don't know really what it is about, but it's you don't know what to think about it. But I think it's quite hilarious, and so he explained to me, but can you tell me a little bit about it for on here and now?
This is a character I have who I call Sir Geoffrey Fotherington Smythe, and the name sounds as though it is from a family going several generations back. And this character is very unhappy very easily. He doesn't need much provocation to be unhappy. I think he was born unhappy, to be honest. And he has certain preconceptions as to how he thinks. By the way, I'm not talking about me. He has certain preconceptions as to how he thinks people should be and things should be. And one of his big hobby horses has been the weather. And we had a period, I think it was now back either at the end of November or beginning of December last year, when until 2 p.m. it hadn't even reached 0 degrees. It was Saturday, I remember, and it was very, very chilly. And Sir Geoffrey has a hotline to the Sky Chief. Not many people have that, but Sir Geoffrey is very privileged. And so he takes the opportunity, when unhappy about the weather, to remonstrate with the Sky Chief in no uncertain terms. I can't actually repeat all of the gestures and the signs he makes because they're a bit rude in civilized company here. But he has a very, very strong-minded way about him to try and get the Sky Chief to oblige. I have asked him more than once, Sir Geoffrey this is, how successful in his remonstrating, negotiating with the Sky Chief, whatever he calls it, he has been. And unusually for Sir Geoffrey, he's very reticent. He doesn't give me any answers on that. He tends to go off in a huff, which gives me the impression he doesn't really get much success and he just doesn't want to own up to that. But the other thing with Sir Geoffrey, aside from the weather, is he has a wish to dominate every situation that he's in. And when he is in a situation he finds unsatisfactory, and that's most of the time, he's going to take it out on whoever happens to be in charge, allegedly, of that scenario. And he will have a generalistic term for said person. He will call them Sonny. I'm sure he's dealt with female proprietors and female owners as well, but he just calls them Sonny. And, it's a bit like, oh my goodness me, I don't think this is very good, Sonny. And then he will expand on what he thinks is not very good. And he enjoys it. It's just his DNA. He's also very, very particular that certain things are delivered when he wants it. So, for example, and just briefly going back to the weather, when it's sunny, when it's summer, he wants it to be sunny, he wants it to be warm. He will accept that in Britain we have a predilection for wind and rain during summers. That's nothing new. But when we get continuous stormy weather and he can't do his hobbies like croquet, football, hockey, he just generally can't be out and about, well, he's very upset. And he's been in my repertoire as Sir Geoffrey now for almost a year. It was February 2023 when I introduced him. And actually, I introduced him because I think it's important to show multiple sides of one's personality. And in this case, it's actually to show that I've got a sense of humor. That's essential. We've all got to have a sense of humor. It does, apart from making us laugh, help us keep certain things in perspective. And I'm going to keep him going for as long as I possibly can, because there's plenty of life in him yet. I don't say there's plenty of life in the old dog yet, because if he hears me, he will have a go at me for calling him old. In his view, he's respectably middle-aged, but no older than that. But it's, you know, it's part of my overall repertoire. I have been known to do Cockney London impressions as well, like barbells, apples and pears, pineapples, gore blimey lovely trousers, and things like that, which is not quite as good as it could be if I was in the East End. I'd obviously improvise it if I was. But the important thing is that those of us who do, out of necessity, want to raise serious issues also have a sense of humour, because it's part of keeping things in perspective. It's part of an all-rounded personality. And that's how it should stay.
And not to go into your personal history, but isn't it so that you have quite many years of experience from the political side locally?
Well, I was involved in party politics for 25 years in a different area from where I live now, not too far away though. And for 12 of those years, I was a elected local councillor, which is somebody who represents the area that they've been voted in to represent. And the idea being to try and improve that area in multiple ways, as well as get across the wider programme of the party that they're representing. So, yes, I did that for a considerable amount of time. And I stopped doing it partly because I thought 25 years was a pretty long stint to do it, and also because I got a little bit disenchanted with politics for various reasons. And I won't go into the events now that have made me even more so.
No.
Several things have happened.
Just say that you had. I remember that you had experience, and connected to that. Then what I thought about that. Politics can often be quite serious. It's important, and it's quite demanding in different ways. And then we have this current political climate, and then a societal let's say situation, beliefs that we have. What I have observed that sometimes it's not, you cannot have the humor side or joke about things. It somehow should be more serious, and it's like there is a polarity there, or like either or, that you cannot take things seriously and want to have societal change if you still have your happy side, you're glad, or you have humor. That you couldn't have those at the same time, almost. That if you like somehow have a humorous side on the same time, it's like they go this like it wouldn't be possible. I've seen that in certain situations, and I think there's nothing that says that you couldn't have both at the same time. that you can be serious, you can be humorous, you can be happy like that, and still want to make a change and believe in that when the time is needed. So that's something that's also I've seen that many. That's for many a reason why they don't do certain things, because they are so under pressure and absurd, and they cannot really be them. They have to be so careful what they do, because you cannot make a joke or be humorous, because it it can be understood in the wrong way, which is, and then it of course can be used in many ways. You can do bad, you can let's say bad things, but not automatically. If you are using humor, you are covering up for something, or you are doing something wrong. It's like it's like a zero tolerance almost for it, and that's what I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
which is quite sad in a way, because many people stop doing things because it's like too serious and they have too much pressure.
I think that people certainly do have to be careful what they say, and especially when they're representing a certain line, because there's something that's called collective responsibility, and that means you're supposed not to speak out of turn when there is something that your group stands for or believes in or opposes. Then that is what you've got to reflect when you speak. I would say, especially in this day and age when technology is more important than ever, you've most got to be careful in terms of what you write. For example, what you tweet or what you put on X, as it's now called since Mr. Musk purchased it, because it can be taken out of context. Okay, you may be very careless in the first place about what you write, and somebody may disagree with it, but it's so easy because it's instant reaction to write something that actually wasn't quite what you intended to convey, or maybe you've even spelt a word with one incorrect letter, and so the sentence that you write or the phrase that you write means something different to what you intended it to mean. And I think there is less scope now for people, even since I was involved, less scope now for people to show their individuality. And that's very sad, because I would argue that people respond first and foremost to an individual. They'll respond to a fellow person rather than a distant party or a distant set of, I mean, most people aren't going to read manifestos, for example, but it's the person they relate to that represents the party that first and foremost they're going to respond to. A bit like if you went to a newsagent out of habit because you liked the person and the service that you got from that newsagent. You could go to any number of newsagents, for example, buy a newspaper, buy a pint of milk, whatever it happens to be. But where are you going to go? You're actually going to go for the shop where you've got the personal service, where you've got the person that you respond to, where you're not going to get shortchanged, where you're not going to get any rude comments and things like that. First impressions are so important. That's very important in politics, as in so many other things.
So yeah, I understand that you can talk a lot about politics, and which was not the intention here. It's fine. What I heard that what I wanted to add is that, for example, humor and jokes is something that you have a personal interpretation about. You can interpret it in different ways, and now when they are under more pressure, it's more dangerous to do it, because you are not it's what you say can be interpreted in another way, and you are not responsible for their interpretation. They have like other people can choose how they see you and how they understand what you have said or written or what you have done, and which makes it then difficult and dangerous, because so much is saved. It's not like like before, you could write, you could say something, but it was not spread and saved in the same way. So it's much easier to you can edit it and take it out of context. Then you can also go back and look at it and see it in different ways, which makes it difficult. So but if you talk about like political freedom and freedom of speech and everything, we need to have the sense that you can do jokes, or you can satire is like in what writers do. And if we cannot have that, then it's quite dangerous for our society. And that's another part of satire, is like on the funny side can be done in a good way, but it's often misinterpreted, misunderstood by many, which is it's not the same. It's not the same as you take a stance and anything about it. You make a point by telling, say, a story, or have a character, just like you are doing. So that's why I think this is connected here. You have your character, which you say you take is not like you as a person, but you make it to your own character, and express this character, what you could do in a fictional novel, or you can do with satire, that you lift up societal events and things you have seen, and that is quite interesting, actually. That is more difficult to do it for some people in certain situations now. So a little bit, but then what I said already about change, and that's what I wanted to go to. Change. We are talking about the future and change now in 24. Many people that have been active in politics and on social media, they have too much pressure and they want to do something else. So do they make a change? People make changes every day. And now, especially when we are in the beginning of the new year, now suddenly we have gone 1 month. We are one month in a new year already. And I think it went quite fast. Although January is kind of a slow month. All the holidays, the big holiday is over. Here where I live, it's dark. It's like the darkest time. Quite cold often. People at the same, it's kind of ironic in Finland, like people start the year, want to make their new changes at the same time when it's, for many, is the most depressing time of the year, and they have this depressing environment, and they want to make their big changes for the year. So it's quite difficult. Actually, you should do it at another time, maybe. Often it's connected to go outside, to be more outside, to be active, and then you do that on the dark time. So it's no wonder people here having a difficult time to be consistent with their changes. Personally, like I like that we have 4 seasons. I like the change of the seasons. I have a stable mood and emotions. I'm not going up and down based on the season, and I'm quite fortunate. I feel that I'm fortunate to be like that, because I know that many people are affected by the light, especially by the light that we have less of. Less of in the winter and really much in the summer. Like then it's too much in the summer. The sun never goes down. It doesn't really get dark. So it's quite difficult. And people, when they move up here to Scandinavia, many are not aware of this thing, that how difficult it might be. We are quite adjusted, but it's a struggle for us also. And you have the rain, of course.
Oh, we get lots of rain. We have far more than we could ever be sufficiently grateful for. And by the way, if anybody would like some rain that feels they're not getting enough, then please feel free to shout out, because I'm more than happy to oblige.
Yeah.
I feel it's unfair on us to be hogging so much rain that could be more evenly distributed. But going back to your point you just made, to Bjorn, it is true that people at the start of the year think, and I understand why completely, that that is the right time to be setting new intentions and having new aspirations. I would say actually that you can do that any day of the year, because the time is now. It's not about, or it shouldn't be about thinking, okay, 1st of January is coming, so on the 1st of January, I'm going to resolve to do A, B, C, D, E, whatever that list consists of. But I used to do that until relatively recently. I stopped doing that because really it was just gestures. It's said that 75% of people by now, and we're talking on the 2nd of February, will have broken whatever resolutions they made for 2024. And at least 75%. Maybe that's a conservative estimate. And so I would say that illustrates how, rather than set resolutions, you should set intentions. And you shouldn't wait till the 1st of January to do it. Actually, you should do it whenever it's right to set new intentions. And that's basically every day. Today is the right day to set new intentions, for example. And that's distinct intentions from resolutions, in that you actually decide what it is that you want to achieve. But rather than say, okay, I'm going to get there by X date, or I'm going to get there in 2024, you break it down into how you're actually going to achieve that. So you put it down into manageable steps, and then you have a plan that you follow through, baby steps that are going to help you get there. Because if you imagine, for example, you want a nice big apple tree. So you say, okay, I'm going to have a nice big apple tree and I want this tomorrow. Well, if you plant the seeds, that's not going to happen tomorrow. But if you nurture the tree over the coming days, weeks, and months, then that tree is going to get bigger, it's going to mature, and you are going to end up with a nice big apple tree. So you have to think about how you can make the difference, how you can start to influence events rather than be seemingly always influenced by events. And I know that that can be difficult when, for example, people feel pressured to work very long days, very long hours, week after week, and the toll that that takes on people's time. And so the inclination is to think, I can't do that because I haven't got the time. But I think it's actually how you start to make the time by putting aside some time on absolutely any day and think, is this how I want to continue for the rest of my working life, or for the rest of my life in other respects? And that's how I actually concluded that I didn't want to continue, for example, being a local councillor or being in the corporate world year after year, as I was helping somebody else to reach their dream and not starting to set down the seeds to grow my dream.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So we're getting closer to what we want to talk about today. I know that we today haven't talked so much about ourselves, and that's quite fine because we did it already in the warm up. So, but we will share how you can find us and where we are, where you can find us at the end of this live anyway. And you can see our names there, of course. So I know I usually forget that introduction in the beginning, but I would like to have it we had an introduction, but I don't want to talk about ourselves. Of course, that's one way to think about it. Like it's not the point to have it to have it really too serious or in that sense. The introduction is quite fine. So I wonder if we could continue on this, or is there something you would like to add now that you felt were missing in the beginning?
Well, I think we ought to touch on what people can actually do, how they can start to consider how they want to make, how they could bring in changes which they want to make. And perhaps included within that, looking at things that they have done well, that have worked, and how they might build on that experience and the skills that and the habits that they learned when they picked up those new talents. Because I think there is a lot to be gleaned from, for example, remembering what skills they had to exhibit to get promoted into a position of greater responsibility, and also things that happen outside work are important. So, for instance, the difference that becoming, as you have, Torbjorn, a father can make in terms of the different habits that you have to adopt, the wider responsibilities you have to discharge, and the effects that that can have on your personality. And I'm not talking about getting up at 2 a.m. to change nappies. I'm talking about the confidence in your wider abilities, which I'm sure that that gives you. So I think we could usefully touch on those.
Yeah, absolutely. So you will get to know more about us step by step by the things we are talking about. Absolutely. Yeah. So what I would like to start with is this question that we had here: what we have going on for at the moment, and the question is how our situation is different from 1 year ago. How is our current situation different from now 1 year ago? And then with the aspect of change in mind. So how would you shortly say that your life is different from 1 year ago?
Well, clearly it's an ongoing learning process, but I would say that I am significantly more confident than 1 year ago. And I'm also more disciplined. And just to explain a bit more about where that comes from, I had to deal with the affairs of my late mother after she passed away. And that can take, well, it does take a considerable amount of time, energy, and so on and so forth. And obviously, each person is different in how they deal with that, how they process it, the time which that takes, and so on and so forth. But I was still dealing with the aftermath of that at this time last year. And also, I was dealing with some other family issues that my stepson was having, which have taken a considerable amount of time. And I have got more confident, or I am more confident since then, in as much as I feel I know where I'm going. That doesn't mean to say that I have mapped out the journey and I'm about to fly to that destination and land there with no deviation, without getting diverted by any clouds, especially not weather. But what it does mean is that I'm more clearly in focus as to what I'm trying to do. And in addition to my own growth, which also includes more discipline, that means going to bed early, getting up early to make the most of each day.
Have you managed? When do you go?
Well, I usually go to bed by 10 p.m. the previous evening, and I need 8 hours sleep because I'm getting old, and I get up therefore by 6 a.m. the following day. And that means I can spend the majority of the day focused on the things which I need to do, but crucially actually get the most out of each day. And that's particularly important at this time of year when we don't have that many daylight hours. We've got about 9 now in the UK. It was 8 until a few weeks ago. So that's one thing. One of the other things which is different for me compared with 1 year ago is that I've set boundaries, and that's absolutely key. And by setting boundaries, I mean, first of all, setting out the differences between what you can do and what maybe people's other expectations of you are, and following through, clearly communicating them. Because I'm somebody who had no boundaries whatsoever. And what that meant was that I was always there for everybody else whenever they wanted it. I was almost like a 24/7 service. I could have been running a taxi firm and been on the phone 24/7. People saw me as that. And that doesn't mean that I don't want to serve people and help people, because I absolutely do, and we'll come on to that towards the end of the session.
Yeah.
It does mean that we have to communicate what those boundaries are, and we have to make sure people are aware, and that we're not unreasonably expected to respond to everything like that with a click of a finger, and that we're given time and space. And that includes, for example, when we need it, like I did for the last 48 hours or so as a result of the injury which I had that I've told you about.
Yeah.
But I think setting boundaries is so important, because that's something we need to communicate to our viewers and our listeners about. And if we don't do it ourselves, then we're not setting the example. That's a key difference from 2023
about that, you said
in my case.
Setting the boundaries, which you explain now, and how you said it. It's for me, it's more about that you actually want to help people, and by setting boundaries, you can do it. So, like you were before, generally you were not so equipped or not so in the best position to help people then, because now when you have more boundaries and more let's say more strict with your how you help other, then you often can help them better.
Yeah, I wanted to be popular, so I wanted to please everybody. I wanted not to rock the boat, and that meant that I was so eager. I wished I had 5 or 6, 7 or more hands that I could use to shake other people's hands all at the same time. So it was all about pleasing everybody else, but my own morale and my own confidence, my own self-worth plummeted, because I wasn't giving any time to any of those. And really, to help the people that you align with and who you want to gain the trust of so that they align with you, you need to set very clearly your own boundaries. Otherwise, you find yourself unnecessarily swamped. So it's a bit like you see a big, let's say you're in a desert, you don't know where you are, but you do see lots of trees, lots of growth all around you, and you just don't know where to start because it's all got on top of you like that. When you set boundaries and crucially communicate them so that people know where they are and know what is okay and what is not okay, that is when you start to get clarity. And I used to conflate that, and wrongly, with arrogance. I used to think somebody that set boundaries was in some way aloof and friendly, distant, not somebody I wanted to be associated with.
Yeah.
And
so
I realize now that that's how they had to be to get where they were.
Yeah, and perhaps also your understanding of them is let's say less strong, like the way you looked at it then and the way you look at it now, you can see them in a different way, that they are perhaps not as arrogant as you thought. They're not like some people of course are in different ways, but you often feel that what they were actually doing, the way they behaved, was not that bad as you thought, not that strong anymore when you with the new eyes you have.
No,
and
that's right.
and then
They were
what
doing
other,
what they had to
there
do.
was something you said, about that, about the I think, I don't know about you, but usually that comes out as a passive aggressiveness, that when you saw them in a way that you didn't see possible for yourself, like it would be unthinkable for you to behave in their way, and therefore it was something that you, because when you have some that kind of limitation about yourself, that this way I cannot be like this, and then uh, you have a strong connection to those people that you see they are behaving this way, and because you don't allow yourself to be like that, you see so strongly, it creates an internal conflict with you are actually reacting to yourself, and then it comes out as passive aggressiveness towards them. uh,
It does.
so it's so it is quite interesting, and I have seen it now and then, and also of course with myself also. I also recognize sides of what you're talking explaining here, and I myself saw myself too nice, and didn't want any conflicts or like that, uh, that which I had before when I was younger, but then I somehow learned that I shouldn't be like this, and then I got to the other side, because if you are, if you don't learn, if no one helps you, um, some ways how you can be more, let's say, relaxed with it, more balanced, you usually go from one extreme to the other, or you just go to the other side, and then that's why I became, um that I didn't stand up for myself, and I was afraid to make a mess or something, which was, for me, then I realized I interpreted too strictly, too strongly, like I thought I always need to be this way, and if I am more, if I'm towards like being, let's say, assertive, telling my opinion, or something like that, that it would be come off as strong, like I would be like also these persons that could be more, uh, what could they be, stubborn or something, which I am actually are, but for me it was like I repressed that side of me, so I needed to be completely different, and if I went closer to that side that wasn't that I wasn't accepting, then I thought that other would notice that, and I would see me as, let's say, what could it be, stubborn or arrogant or something like that, and but actually I was still quite modest in my opinion, or the way how I was then, and then that's something I had to break out of. And it, of course, has good sides also. But it's what I see in many, that's a little bit something I'm personally interested in. I see in many men, that they are also encouraged to be like that, to not take place, to not, because for some men and women also, but we're talking about men here. For some men, it becomes a problem with that, because if they talk about generally, men shouldn't be in different certain ways, and those ways, some men are not like that at all, and then they start repressing sides of them that they don't have, and they should actually be more confident, take place and say their opinion, and things like that, because they are not doing it at the moment, and then they got confusing messages around that, and then a lot of men can't really get the help they should need because of the current situation. So that's something that's really sad to see, in my opinion.
I think a lot of men also don't realize or won't acknowledge that they should seek to do anything about it, whether that's in terms of themselves taking action that might help resolve it, or going and speaking to somebody else about it. And you just said something there, Torbjorn, that also resonated with me. You used the phrase from one extreme to the other. And that was me when my patience was resulting in more and more demands piling up on top of me, so that on occasion I would snap and I would shout. So I wouldn't speak normally or calmly to say no. I would snap because my limit had been breached, my tether had been reached, and I would snap because I hadn't conditioned myself in the first place to set the boundaries that I ought to have taken. But something else which I've also learned from 2023 is to eliminate distraction, because for a very long time I let all kinds of distractions stop me from what I was actually doing. And it could be very small things, like, for example, sitting at my desk doing some work and hearing something put through the letterbox, and immediately feeling I had to go downstairs and pick up whatever had been put through the letterbox. Well, actually, it wasn't about to develop legs of its own and walk away before I'd got time to go and retrieve it. And having to go, well, not having to, but going downstairs, getting back up again, then sitting down, and other small distractions like overhearing somebody outside, wondering what they're talking about. Are they talking about you? All of those things put together take time. They knock off your concentration. You lose track and control of what you were working on. And then when you sit down, you've got to reestablish your focus. And then you've got to start again. And something else that's helped me to do that, helped me to do the focus, is if I'm actually working and I don't need the use of my phone, first of all, disable all non-relevant notifications, have the phone on silent, put the phone in a different room, close the door until I've finished what I'm actually doing, and then want to go and use the phone again. Because more than 9 times out of 10, if somebody wants to speak to me, it's not so urgent that I have to actually respond instantly. There is no reason why I can't finish what I'm actually doing in the first place. And when I concentrate, when I start something, see it all the way through, the product is, one, going to be something which I'm happier with, but two, it's going to be something that comes over better to other people. And I'm very happy I've made that change.
Absolutely. And also it's you can use it tactically also, that if you're unavailable, sometimes the matter will take care of itself, or these other people or persons, or one person asking for your help maybe resolves this issue on their own. Because if you can end up in a situation where people give you tasks or ask for questions, ask for favors, and when you stop doing it, they will start doing them on their own. Sometimes it's like they don't have the time to wait for you, so they fix it on their own. So that's also a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like if you are not available, then the remaining tasks will be those which are actually important for you to handle.
Yeah.
So it's quite smart. It's quite smart to do that. That it's an interesting topic about that, needing to be efficient, effective, and look quite busy all the time, which I have observed in business, like normal jobs, in any job where you are, that it's quite strange that it's better to look busy than to actually be productive and effective. As long as you look busy, then it's fine. And I have heard stories about people that the task that they were set to do in one day, he said that I can do these things in 4 hours. I don't need 8 hours. I will do them for 4 hours, and the rest of the 4 hours I will do what I want and other things. But from the employer's side, it was not okay. Like the remaining 4 hours should be used to something more or something else, which is quite weird if you look at it logically and efficiently. Like like how couldn't this person just do these things in 4 hours and they are done, and the remaining 4 hours can do what they want, or like just somehow use the time differently? Why does this person need to look busy? Like, say, would it be better if this person looks busy but takes longer time to do these things, and then is that better? Then it's another thing that I'm actually questioning, the need, or like the encouragement to just look busy, instead of thinking about how can I be more efficient, how much break. Like it's not always you start with your work day, and then you go just you do things, new things, and then you stop. Or like when you suddenly stop, it's like it goes up and down. And before, earlier, when we had like this other lifestyle, we were doing our jobs in a different way. We were like, we didn't have separated work free time. We It was a lifestyle. We were more in a collective. We were more dependent on each other. And then after that, in what could it be, 1600, and then with the industrialization, we got more specialized until we are now in this current service society, where most people are in the service sector, and we are not in industry anymore. So we don't use just one specific task. We are getting more and more people are having individual strong skills. Our physical skills are not that important. We are more specialized in that sense, which also creates the challenges, because our nature is quite the same. We still need to take care of physical stuff. Not everyone can have a highly intelligent job or task. Not everyone wants to and have the capacity to do that. And then how we, like, it's interesting to see how we value certain tasks in life. And what I really admire is those people that want to go into work with animals or farming, small scale farming. If you want to be a farmer, you need to have it like industrialized and have a lot of capital and support. But you small scale, and especially if you want to work with hobby animals or take care of animals, like some dog farming or horses or whatever, like something with animals, is really difficult to find a job, difficult to make a business out of it, to create it on your own. It costs a lot, and it isn't very well paid. But there are a lot of people that have a strong connection to animals, but less and less. Of course, we have our pet dogs and cats and other animals, but they are locked inside our apartments, and we go outside and in a leash, and it's not really that natural. It's not that's not what I'm talking about. I talk about those people that they don't want to take care of these animals, and for example, horses are not that type of animal that you can have inside. They are big and they have certain capacities that they need to be taken care of in a different way. So and of course, horse, it can be. I was also talking about sports and different ways you can use horses in a different ways, but they're more like, say, in this small scale, close to nature. You're a person that wants to have close to nature. You don't want to breed the horses to the best horse ever, or force them or anything. You just want to take good care of them in a natural way, and that is not easy, and not any job with horses and animals are quite easy anymore. But I really admire those who try.
And I think there's a lesson there, isn't there, which is that when you do something which is a passion of yours and maybe has been for some time, it's a lot more difficult than first you give it credit for, because it's easy to say, okay, I want to look after horses, breed horses or dogs, whatever it might be, or I want to open up a pet shop, for example, which will sell animals that you'll keep domesticated. But it's something that takes a lot more effort, in as much as you've got to think about it. It's something which is outside things that were traditionally deemed acceptable, which is one thing which I was certainly influenced by when I was younger, about things that other people found were acceptable or thought they were. And those people who, or many of those people who do think about doing something outside the box, as it were, won't, partly because of peer group pressure, partly because they begin to get an idea of all the things that were involved, and it puts them off, because actually being somewhere that's more, what's the word, office based, for example, somewhere which is shop based, etc., it just seems more natural or more accessible, and so on and so forth. Actually, to do things that make you passionate, things that you look forward to because they're your baby, they're what you've created, that is a huge and incalculable feeling. And they say quite rightly that every day is something for which we should be grateful, and absolutely we should, because every day is a fresh opportunity to make the most of. But when you are in a position to make something happen that you really want to do rather than something that you have to do, that puts it on a different level. And it is a fact, unfortunately, that most people who are in that situation of doing something that they always were told that they should do will stay there, because quite understandably they don't see what is the difference, and they haven't been given the opportunity actually to put those steps together that might make such a thing happen. And the lesson that we should be conveying is that that it is possible, but you have to not expect the result to be overnight. It's a series of baby steps, and it takes time. It's not going to be smooth. There'll be challenges, there'll be problems on the way. Actually, those challenges are your biggest teachers if you let them. You have a choice. You can let them defeat you, put you back to square one, make you decide, actually, I'm going to carry on doing what I'm already doing. Or you can say, okay, so what went wrong? What needs to change? How can I correct that? Then put that correction in place and carry on.
Yeah. If you look at it, you can look at it that way. That's actually what's happening, that you decide to not change, to go back to what you were doing. But what often happen is that you are not aware of that thought process, or the decision there. Often people, like I'm talking with about people in you format, you end up in a situation like, oh no, now I'm back again. Earlier I had this conviction or this feeling and made the decision to change, and then suddenly it's like part by part goes away, and then I'm suddenly back to where I were. The same habits and behaviors. It's not an active choice, it's just somehow happens. That's how often the explanation, that if you would ask them, it's not often that they are asked, but if they would tell, like this, that's how they would. It just happened again, that I returned to where I before. So that's quite interesting, I believe, and often yes. But and you talked about that you want it takes time. It's true, it takes time. Change takes time. But it not there's nothing that says that it needs to take a certain amount of time, or doesn't have to be a certain way, but often it takes more than we think. And often when we have made a decision, we want to see the result quite quickly. We want to see the result. We cannot really estimate the journey there, or what's going to happen between my current situation and the situation I would like to have, or the result. So instead of going for the end result, you should do it differently. And what I wanted here to tell about some notes I had that's connected to this is it's the levels of commitment is quite relevant here. About something you want to change, you want to do, and what I have here is 5 levels of commitment, and if I just quickly go through them, that the first one is the lack of commitment, that there's something you would like to change, do differently, or would like to achieve, but you have no commitment, no actual, nothing in you that would you don't want to make an effort yourself. You want it, but you don't want to make an effort yourself. And the second one is outcome without effort, which is that you want the outcome, but you don't want to make a big effort. But the difference here is that you're a little bit more committed, but you don't want to do something. If you can have it, if someone helps you, it's fine for you. But the first one is like you don't even want. If someone helps you, it doesn't. There's nothing there. It's almost like you don't even want it. But the second one level is that you want it, but you don't want to do any effort in achieving it. And then the third one is that you are trying to do it. Trying, you can say, I will try to make this change, which is not that confident, and not so, you're not so committed. But often we say that we will try, and which is like it's a better way. It takes away the pressure there that you're trying at least, and then that's fine. But it's not showing real commitment. it's showing some commitment, but you are opening a door there that you can that if you don't succeed, you at least tried your best. And then we go to the next level, which is to do your best, which is still a little bit that you are leaving the door open there. If you're doing your best, that's something we often talk about. But how do you know that that's enough, and how do you know that how do you know that you are doing your best anyway? Because we are capable of much more than we believe. So it's quite, when you are aware of that, I am capable of much more than I believe, then you shouldn't say I do my best in that current moment. Yes, based on your day, your daily today's, based on your today's shape and form, of course. But when you're talking about months and years, about what I want to achieve, if you just do your best, that's going to change, and you have more capacity than you believe. So that is also leaving a way out there, that if you fail, at least you did your best. It's not enough, because then the last level of commitment is that you do whatever it takes. And when you do whatever it takes, you take away your identity, yourself, your ego. You will do what's required. And then, of course, for many people say that then, okay, so, but that's not really good. It's like, it's too demanding, because and it's dangerous. And it could be, of course, because there are demanding people, and there are people that take advantage of those people that are willing to do whatever. They don't that don't have any boundaries, that they are like just performing, which you can, of course, believe that this means. But when we know that you have more capacity than you are aware of, doing whatever it takes is showing most commitment, at least, that I will not let myself be I will not let myself down, or let myself be the reason why I can't succeed. I will learn and do the things that's needed to make this happen. And then you can also look at it more objectively, more straightforward, because then you don't have to think so much about your own limitations, your own capacity, your abilities. You know that if I don't have any that was required, I can learn it, and I can get better. I can be better. I don't need to be capable yet. I will do whatever it takes. I can learn on the way. So, because when you're saying I'm doing my best, means that I already have a capacity, and if I don't perhaps need, my best is my best. That's how I see it. If I say I do my best, that means that I have limited resources, like a limited capacity. But if I do whatever it takes, I'm more inclined to learn more and strive to become better. So that's quite relevant here when we talk about this change and how to make it happen, these levels of commitment.
And you also have to visualize what your best is going to look like, which obviously is different for each person. So it's what you're aiming for ultimately, how that's going to look, what changes that's going to mean. And then you have to work out what that actually is going to take. And it means that you also have to adapt ways in which you think, behave, maybe ways in which you sleep, like I was alluding to before. And you've got to know, or you've got to say to yourself, I am committed. And I'm not only saying I'm committed, I'm actually going to do the steps. Because the worst thing in the world would be if you said to yourself you were really committed, but then you actually didn't take all of those steps, and you didn't have the patience, or you didn't learn from mistakes, you didn't adapt when things went wrong, you didn't open your mind to how you could correct what had gone wrong to make it better going forward. And the worst thing in the world would be not to have done all of the things that you could have done, then retreat, believe it's too much, allow yourself to be overwhelmed, perhaps because you thought you could do it more quickly than it's turning out to be the case, and then retreat back into your comfort zone, which ironically is the place that makes you feel more settled, even though it's the very place that you wanted to move on from. And I can't think of any feeling that's more deflating than that. And also to get to the fifth level you described there, to beyond the one where you actually believe and tell yourself and make yourself, not prejudicing your health, of course, but you make yourself do the steps that are needed. That needs two levels of accountability, doesn't it? It means self accountability, and you've got to hold yourself accountable for doing what you say you're going to do. Also, you've got to have somebody else hold you accountable, whether that's a friend, whether it's a family member, whether it's somebody else, whether it's whoever, a person that you feel you can trust, person that respects your boundaries too, of course. Accountability is a crucial part of it, because without that, it doesn't happen. And I can say that from experience, because I knew many times before that I wanted to change the environments at work that I thought were holding me back, keeping me stuck, and that led me to tolerate things that I shouldn't have for far longer than I should have. And I didn't do anything about them, because none of the things that you've just laid out, Torbjorn, were in my mind. I was just thinking, I need to get out of this, but I wasn't thinking how, I wasn't thinking when. Well, I was thinking when, like sometime, but sometime is no kind of goal. It's just a vague aspiration sometime. And the longer you hold off acting, the more difficult it becomes. And that was my experience, because the more, again, open quotes, comfortable, close quotes, you start to feel where you are, even though it's breaking your heart, and you can't wait instinctively to get out of it. So it's something that I totally underestimated when I first knew that I wanted to stop doing the safe, the respectable, the unchallenging, the demotivating, the unfulfilling activities that I was doing. I only had those aspirations and those wants. I had no idea what to do. I knew nothing about coaching industry. I knew nothing about accountability. All I knew was what was going on in my head, which was a never-ending circle of hopelessness. And if I knew then what I'd know now, I'd have been in a far better place. But I'm glad that I know it now, at least.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's a critical moment, because there are couple of existing futures and scenarios that could be the result of that kind of situation. It's not all, like you said, to get out of there, you would, and to quickly achieve what you would like to have, you would actually need to be who you are today. But at that moment you were not. So that's why it makes it so difficult, because you don't know what you don't know. You cannot learn those things you don't know and are aware of that you would need. If you would know have a list or understanding of this is all the things I need to learn, then it would be much easier. But you actually don't. You don't have that. So you are you don't you know what you would like to have. You know what you would like to get out of, but you don't know how to do it. And you don't know what would help you with that. You don't. Yeah. So there's a lot of things you don't know there.
And I
But
think
we
if you don't, yeah,
believed somehow that we do. Or I don't know. I don't know how it feels. You feel different. You can feel different ways.
well, it's easy for me to say in hindsight, if I didn't know, I should have found out or I should have asked. That's easy for me to say in hindsight. But in that situation, your first feeling is getting through the day and managing and remembering that some days will be better than others. Okay, some days will be significantly worse than others, but no day will be exactly the way you want. Your first thought is survival. So your first thought is, okay, I start at 9:30. Let's get through the 8 hours until 5:30 when I stop and I go home, and then repeat the cycle 5 days a week or however many days a week it is. And that's all you think about. So when it comes to, because you feel pressured, you feel overwhelmed by that situation, and although you might have a small, very quiet voice inside you that says, look, this won't do and you need to do something about it, it's not loud enough to be banging on your door saying, find out how you can stop this, find out how you can escape this. Obviously, every person's different, and I can speak only from my experience, but for me, survival was the primary and sole thing. So, as long as I got through that, nothing else really mattered. So long as I was able to pay my bills, as long as I could pay my rent, nothing else really mattered. And for the majority of the time, that was the case. Although there came a point when it was no longer the case because I wasn't earning enough to pay all my expenses and my bills and my rent. And then I got into homelessness, where I started to get a clue, a real clue as to where I was starting to go wrong, because I was thinking, okay, is this how I want to carry on for the rest of my life? Do I want to be homeless again, going from one hostel to another every 2 weeks, or going from one sofa to another every 2 weeks? No, it's not. But while that was happening, I was thinking, when is this going to stop? Will it stop? Is this how it's going to be for the rest of my life? So there comes the point you actually have to ask yourself why. And I mean, why? Why am I accepting this? And then when you think, because I don't know anything else, you then say, why don't you know anything else? And then you come to the point, you think through the other possible consequences, some of which may have happened as they did in the way I just described, of not doing something. And then you say, if you don't want it to be like this, what am I going to do? And then you ask, if not now, if I'm not going to do it now, when am I going to do it? And it's when you start continually quizzing yourself like that, that you start to feel the need to act, to start to feel the need to stop just thinking, moaning, having nightmares about it, but doing something about it. And that's how it was for me. I asked myself, is this how I want it to be for the rest of my life? And the answer was no, it wasn't. And having established that no, it wasn't, I had to ask myself, so is doing nothing going to change anything? And then when I realized the answer to that was no, because it hadn't up to that point, that's when I had to start thinking, okay, so what do I do instead? What's the alternative? If I want to escape from this grind and I want to escape from this nightmare that's affecting my wider life and not only my working life and spoiling my Sundays, worrying about the coming Monday, what have I got to do? And yes, I was aware that it was painful, and I was aware that it was difficult, and I was aware that it would take time. And those reasons and more are why I didn't do anything earlier than that. But it was a realization that if I wanted it to change, I had to change. And that didn't just mean my situation, it meant the way I thought, it meant the way I reacted, behaved, it meant the way I set boundaries or didn't set boundaries. And it meant it meant all the habits, which up to that point I'd taken for granted. It also means, by the way, eating better, eating more healthily. I think that's an important part as well.
Mm. Yeah.
And
That's natural. Like, you usually start eating in a bad way when you don't have the options, and also when you're under a lot of stress, and then that when you are that, you naturally in our day and time choose bad alternatives there
yeah,
for you. So
so easy. It's so easy to be tempted down those roads because that scenario leads to bad eating, it leads to failure to declutter. It means that you don't look after yourself as you should, you don't look after your surroundings like you should. I've actually this month been doing some well overdue decluttering of the place where I live because there's been quite a few things that don't serve me. They don't serve my purposes. Maybe they once did, but they didn't anymore. And I think part of that is part of freeing your mind and leaving it open to new thoughts, new ideas, and new, hopefully, aspirations and optimism on which you're going to follow through.
yeah, that's good. What you told there is quite deep and really valuable. Also, the things you said, it shows that it's really much about simplicity, simple questions you need to ask and do to initiate change. All this what we are doing, coaching and habits and change and goals and whatever, it easily gets quite complicated. People have talked about these things a lot. There's many ways you can do it, but when it happens for you, it's quite simple, and what works for you is also quite simple. And also it's nice that you can recognize those questions and those small, in a way it's a big change, but it's a small thing practically in your life. It's quite a small thing, like there's nothing much happening in you or close to you. You just realize something and then do some changes, and from really small, you can say it's really small, that happens some sort of change, and then from those questions and from that realization and from that situation you are in, and then the change the change and behaviors happen after that. It's somehow also that you see yourself doing those things already, um, or stop doing those things, and then you start behaving in a different way. So in a sense you could actually immediately turn it around, but often also our environment is quite big. It's like a big not fluffy, but thing that's it's not easy to change and manipulate. It's the same, it moves quite slowly. You might feel that no, but then when you're ready, you're fast, I want to move fast, but when you're not aligned, your environment is quite not adapted to that, and not willing to do what you want. So it's quite also difficult to find that support there and everything around it. But our environment it has a big impact on us. with this
Yes.
initial of this change. But then it starts with you, like you said, it starts with you, and that's also what we want to point out, that it starts with you, and it's not the environment that is the reason and the fault here. And also it's quite difficult to change it. That's what I believe. You change your environment by changing yourself, how you see your environment, and then the environment, based on how you see yourself and how you act, your environment will respond differently, or based on that.
Definitely.
So that's some things about this. I think that was really, really good. I'm looking here also about the other notes that I have. Actually, what I see, I have these 10 steps of change for change based on Appreciate Inquiry that I could actually give out to anyone that want them, because we don't have time to go through them now. 10 steps for change in a based on your strengths and your capacity, which is which Appreciate Inquiry is about, which I believe is really powerful. This is something you easily could do together or on your own. Answer these questions. Really powerful, because then we have accountability, we have our environment, we have our positive strengths. We also see that what kind of future would we like to see, what can we resources can we use, and what achievements do we have, and how can we also be resilient in that, because there will be setbacks. It's going to be, when you make a vision, you see something for yourself, this is what I want. Different factors, different days, you will have good and bad days, which will take it longer off, and then what you believe. So then you need to be resilient also, so that you can keep up with this and don't give up. And then you also celebrate, and then you have your relationships there that can support you. And that's what you often don't have, in my opinion, because your environment wants you to stay as you are, like you are. They don't want you to change, because which sometimes can be a good thing, because if you are very stable, like a big mountain, and you are easy to rely on, and also confident, and all those things, people come back to you when they have a lot of changes in the world, and in uncertain times. And they also there is a certain strength and capacity around that being that consistent, strong, and big, like you have a stable as a mountain inside you. That is something that people admire. At the same time, when we talk about a lot that people should do big changes on here and there, go here and there, but we also, at the same time, in times of need, we want those people that are stable and not changing. So that's of course a good thing. But then we also have people that rely on us, and in a way take advantage of us, or like just want to have a friend, a partner, that companion, that they know how they will receive what they are expecting. So they don't want that person to change. But sometimes that happens, and then those people will fight back and try to take you back there, sometimes with a good reason, but because sometimes we don't do so smart things. We are either the thing we want might be good, but we do it too quickly. We don't have the knowledge and skills already. You you can come far with a strong belief and trust that everything will sort out. But you wouldn't go to try to climb Mount Everest with the right equipment or with a lot of air pressure training before, because the air that is completely is quite demanding and different conditions up there on the top. You just can't go there with the right belief that you believe you have what it takes. You can just go up there. You need to practice and train and be prepared. And often those people around us are not trained mountain climbers, but you have decided to be a mountain climber, but they just see it as very dangerous and they have no idea what it is about. So they just advise you to not do it at all because they don't know how they would do it or how you should do it. So, and it's quite dangerous, of course, but people still go up there and have that as a personal life goal, one of their biggest goals in life, to go there. And there's nothing that tells you that you need to go there because you are not the first one anymore. And so there's no price and to get there, only for your like a personal value, personal victory. And so you should listen to those who are close to you, but also understand that they don't always know what they are talking about. Understand that you sometimes don't do wise decisions, but with the right preparation and the knowledge and all the things, you can learn and make it good. But you shouldn't be too naive. Maybe it's quite difficult to advise this because because we don't know other people's capacity to make this change. Sometimes, because it might look, even if we have the best intentions, we don't have any personal connection, we don't want to keep this person where they are, we want to help them, and sometimes it looks like they don't have the capacity to do it. We don't trust them. But then if you don't know anything else, you should just encourage them and believe in them, because that's what they need and that will help them. If you don't have a good plan or something else to give them the trust and believe that, because that will help them and have the best chances for them to succeed, instead of saying something like, I don't think it's a good idea, maybe you shouldn't do it, something unclear and vague. If you either need to give a good suggestion, or like explore more, let them talk about it, or just encourage them to do it, because you don't know.
Yeah, I think peer group pressure is hugely influential and all pervading and all surrounding. And it's understandable that very often if you tell somebody this is what you want to do, they're going to say why, or they're going to question the wisdom of it. They're going to say it's not safe. They're going to say, have you thought about it? They will ask you things or say things to you that are designed to put you off doing it. And I would say that that's perfectly understandable and reasonable. But I think there's also a distinction to be drawn between those who genuinely have your best interests at heart and actually want what you want, even if their ideal or their envisioned way of that coming about differs from the way you see it coming about, and those who will put distractions, obstacles in the way, those who will not respect your boundaries, those who will do their best to undermine you, those who will tell you you're not good enough, you're unworthy. And it's an
Mm.
important distinction to be made, because I think those who really do have your best interests at heart will actually, if you ask them, say, well, I don't agree with what you're doing necessarily. However, I respect that you're doing it because you believe that it's the right thing to do, that it's going to advance you, it's going to make you happier, you'll feel more fulfilled, you will feel more productive, and that you want it in order to help people that you care about, which will be your family, maybe other friends, maybe other peers, it may be people who have helped you in the past in some way that you don't feel you've adequately repaid. I
Mm.
think the people who actually will back you are the ones that truly align with you, and the ones that you should take seriously and take heed of. The ones that are the opposite, they will drain your energy. They will always put obstacles in your way for the sake of doing that. They'll create diversions for the sake of doing that. And you have to develop strength of character to withstand that and resist it. Actually, that's an aspect I was posting about a bit earlier today, because certainly historically, I would have been persuaded by the latter to do absolutely nothing, because it was in the interests of the people who didn't want me to do anything different to have me continue to dance to their tune and to have me on call 24/7 at their convenience. And they
Mm.
didn't have my interests at heart whatsoever, because to them I was just a means to an end. They made me
Mm.
think that I was doing something special, or tried to. And at the time, yes, I did think I was doing something special. And I imagined that I would get their enduring friendship as a result, because that's what my motivation for doing these things was. But I think completely differently now. And I'm not remotely sorry about that, because it has now saved me a lot of the heartache that I was getting previously. So it's
Mm.
the
Mm. Mm.
people who are in your tribe and those who are not. Those who are in your tribe, they're going to back you even if they're not sure.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, they will. And then we both, because we have coaching experience, the one of the basic things you learn as a coach, which I believe makes you a better human, is that you understand that it's fine to encourage other in their aspirations and what they want to do. You don't, you can, it's becoming a good coach is a lot about personal character development. You need to be balanced and handle your ego in that sense, that you can encourage other people and be like with them and support them in what they want to do, and not be jealous or anything that or that would hurt them, or that you would somehow take part in the pride, that you see them, you understand them and see them, but you are also not like them, you are separate, and you support them for that. When you are not trained in this, you some have a person have, if you encourage someone, you have a idea of personal achievement or something you will get out of that, or something. That's this, many people have, if they should encourage someone and support them, that they would need something back, or that they would need some personal winning or something, I don't know, different reasons, different things. Of course, in coaching, often in a business, it's a business, you pay for the service, but what you get there is a very supportive environment and a supportive person. And coaching is also developing more into a group and tribe environment, because then that peer support is so important, and that you can share it with others in a private environment, because then when you go back to your old people, normal people, the people they will not understand this. You will be quite let down often when you talk about all those things, because they are not interested in all those things. They're just, often they are getting their own fear in their way, and to like direct them. They are like say, in a effective state where they are as like we as humans are, we are directed and let's say slaves to our emotions in at many times, because sometimes it's good to be that. It's not always good, but we have evolved in this certain way, not in an optimal way, but in a good enough. Because I believe that as humans we are just in the beginning of our evolution to become better and optimal beings. We are far away from optimal. We have come quite far, you say really far, but this is not the end. We are on the journey, and if you just think about like our time, each individual's lives here on Earth is quite short, and the glimpse that we get in here and get to be a part of and have an insight in our evolution is very short and small. So actually, what each of one of us can achieve and do in our life is quite small. The impact we can have is the probability is not that high. So we should, in my opinion, we could do whatever, because our time here on Earth is not that long anyway. So why wouldn't you just live the lives we want to do and do the things we want? Because we shouldn't ruin our lives. Of course, there's a risk there, and we have evolved in this way that some people are more afraid and to take the risks and do the things. But when you understand, if even you think about it this way, that it's just a short, we are on the journey, we are becoming better, but we are not optimal yet. So it's like we can be quite okay with who we are. We shouldn't be so demanding on ourselves also. We have a lot of capacities, a lot of things we can do, but we are humans on a evolutionary journey, and also quite in the beginning. We are not as old as animals, or like beings. I call humans animals, so not all everyone does, but we are actually, and so we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves, and we shouldn't be so afraid to do the things we want to, because in the end, what matters is that we live the life like we wanted it, and took those chances and did those things, so that we don't end up in a lot of years when we live in kind of a passive state. We just go from paycheck to paycheck, don't really know what we are doing. Why would we, and you shouldn't be too stressed about it. Is at the same time, like many then can feel that, oh, I have, my time is so limited, I need to do this all things now at the same time, and start right away, because my time is so short, and soon I will be old, and I have more pains, more can be sick, sickness, I need medical treatment and whatever. And that's true, but you don't know what can happen tomorrow. Some people are end up in a bad for thinking thought circle around that they get in kind of a paralysis, or afraid. They get afraid of that realization. and meaning that they cannot do anything. There's a lot of things that can go wrong there, and like we just see about how humans are. We have so many different sicknesses, physical, mental, and whatever, and so on, and we have so much problems that we do. We have also good things, but we are so, as humans, we are so far away from a optimal machine or something. It's a what do you call it? Nature's
way.
One. What did you say? Nature's
way.
way, but a wonder of nature. We as humans, and also how the world looks. But at the same time, like that means that we are far from optimal. Like that. That's what I'm trying to say here. So
and I
it's
think
so good also to not be aware of all things that can happen, all things that can go wrong, things can happen, and like just use the time we have.
An important point associated with that will be, yes, that life is finite, and yes, we can and will grow old, and yes, we can and will be susceptible to illness, but we have a temptation that I certainly resonated with when I was growing up, and I think is still pretty prevalent, to compare ourselves with others. So, for example, we will look at celebrities, and the cult of celebrity is stronger than it's ever been, not least due to the influence of social media. And we say to ourselves, he's in that position, and that's what he was born for. I was born to be in position B, and that's the way it will stay. He was born to be a film star, a pop star, rock star, whatever it is, or a movie star or a football star. I was born to work in a warehouse, etc. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, with working in a warehouse, because it's a very essential role that we often take for granted. But we assume that we're always destined to be followers. The people in the public eye are destined always to be leaders. And we do have the opportunity, if we want to change that. However, all too often, or usually, we don't feel that we are conditioned to want to do that. And when we compare ourselves, actually, we're not comparing like with like, because each individual is unique. And what makes each of us tick, therefore, is different to what makes anyone else tick. And nobody predetermined that we had to end up in a certain way, or our destiny was in a certain direction before we were born. Actually, it's the things, the influences, the people who were around us when we were born that have shaped that, as well as perhaps our own beliefs that we were not able to do things that we weren't already doing, or we couldn't aspire to do things that would make us happier. And that's such a self-limiting belief. And I know I had it for very many years. And that's why I stayed in lots of things that I was unhappy in. And it's also such a energy depleting thought, because you deplete your energy by staying in these situations indefinitely, but then you think it's also the way it's always meant to be, and that continually depletes your energy also. And because life is finite, I think it's also what you make it. And there is no reason, if you don't want to and you're not prepared to take the action to make it happen, there's no reason why you can't make 2024 the best year of your life so far, and then each following year better still. And we're talking now the beginning of February, and I think people watching and listening will have also maybe set some intentions for how they want their working life to look this year. They'll also be thinking, crikey, the year is already just over 1/8 over, because we've already got through January, and thinking, how is it going so far? Is it following up to the intentions which I had? And if it's not, what can I do?
I don't.
So
I think that many people are trying to avoid those questions, like to ask, first observe. We are now in February. How's it going so far? I don't think people like to do those two things.
Possibly not.
No. The same when if you have problems with money and income, you want to avoid that situation. You want to avoid looking at your bank account, your bills and your mail. You it's like it's a survival mechanism somehow when we are led by your emotions. When that's an example, when it's at least we retain our sanity. We are afraid of the natural reaction to something we are afraid of is to go away. If we cannot eliminate it, we will either freeze or flee from it. The mail just keep coming in and everything is, we cannot really avoid it. We can, so we try to flee, go away, because there's no point in beating up the mailman.
No.
So we cannot attack the problem. And then a more rational thing to do, what people often get help with, is that they start opening the bills, start going through everything, and then start sorting it out bit by bit. That's how you do it, because otherwise it will not sort it out on its own. And that's one thing, that just an example of how we function as humans. That's usually what happens, that we don't do what we should. We do what evolution and nature tells us to do, which is not the same as behaving in a rational, logical way. And that's fortunate, and I'm very glad that we have realized now, and it's like a common belief that like more and more, at least, because there are still people and situations and settings where they don't believe that people are emotional beings. They are not logical and rational beings. It's something called rationalitis economicus, the rational person, which was very, because I have read business, we learned this, the history of economics, and much of it is based on the idea that people are rational beings, that if you can make a certain investment, you make a good investment based on the most rational option. But when they started testing this with Kahneman and Tversky, it's called prospect theory and behavioral economics, they realized that people are not behaving rationally, and they come from more a psychology and combining psychology and business, or economics. And then that impact that they made has made the common belief, in my opinion, go, if we are, maybe we're not there yet, but more and more, that we are actually based, we do make decisions on emotions and feelings, what seems to be best, and we think we are rational, but we are not. And so you can't have rules and beliefs in society that are based on that humans are rational when it's not representing reality. So many times we have faulty rules and understandings of how society is created based on the old rationalities economicus person, and then we need to change certain things in our society and economical system and on other parts, which is quite interesting, actually, that so much is based on that idea, which is not true, that we would be that humans would be in that way. It sounds good, but it's not true.
We'd have no unpredictability if it was, would we?
No. So of course they used the best they had, but sometimes if you go in for one set of truth that you believe in, is not going to give you the best results because it's not based on actual reality.
No.
And but people often take the easy thing. They want things to be simple and make sense and seem good than the hard truth. That's why it took quite a long time before like psychology in general was accepted as a science, and also the behavioral economics. They couldn't believe the results of Kahneman and Tversky's studies, because it what do you say? It was against the common belief at the time, and we are just talking about now 50 years ago around, and then they were. That's what always happened. Like when you have some good ideas, you have some like good studies, good research, you have new things going on, and then those people will always meet the most resistance. So in a way, when you see people facing the most resistance by society, that's actually those people that you should at least observe and see, could this be the future? Because some of these people will actually bring our society forward, and they will actually speak the future before it's common. So that's quite interesting, that you should go against, same as if like there are many things you should go against what everyone else does. It's sometimes difficult, same in when you do investment. If you are stock investing, you should buy when everyone else is selling and sell when everyone else is buying. That's a functional strategy, but there's a lot of other strategies also. But the thing is that people often sell and buy at the wrong times. So when the biggest amount of people are buying, then after that it goes down because it's too late. You should be selling then when everyone else is buying, because when the demand goes that much up, the demand will the increase of demand will just create that the stock is falling afterwards, because the supply just the supply, the price goes too high, and the demand is also ending there, and then it goes down. And same things when everyone is selling, you should start buying. And investing on the stock market is mostly psychology, and it's also a good representation of human behavior also. So that's why it's really interesting. There's a lot of calculations and everything you can do on the stock market and investments, but that's what they have also realized. Because humans are not rational beings, they cannot predict the stock market, because humans are not predictable, because they are not rational, because they are functioning on emotions. So that's what I believe is really extraordinary.
It's true.
But I see here we're almost 2 hours in our live, and it's quite extraordinary that also.
Amazing how much we can talk, isn't it?
And I have enjoyed this. I
Yes.
thought a lot of value from this. Of course, if you haven't watched it all and you're watching the replay, how can you how can you now, for example, know that I'm telling you this when you usually get the 2 hours? So what we will do is in the comments we will summarize and give you the messages that we want. We also tell them now, but we will make them in the comments, and when you share on your feed, you can also mention. We can have a shared message there, but we will what we will what like for as a summary or the message that what we want you to know, because I know that we're this far in, and if you we can't just let this chance go by, that we're just telling this and hope that people will see it and hear it because they won't. We need also to make a message so that we can share what we want. But we will share it here anyway, and of course, and then we will also share it afterwards in text form, so we can see. I don't know.
We're each going to offer something, aren't we, Torbjorn, as well? So I'm going to
Yeah.
offer, for example, a free guide, which I'm creating about tips to take charge of your work situation. And it will be informed by the way I finally did that after a lot of frustration and a lot of missed opportunity.
Yep. Yeah. A valuable guide. What I have is also valuable. It's not based on my experience and what knowledge in that sense about my life, but of there with this partly of partly of that is because what I want to share is this school community that I'm creating. School is another page, a community platform, just like a Circle, that SO or Mighty Networks, these other that you can have. It's how I would explain it is Facebook groups, and you just take the Facebook group and make that to a thing, a service. That is Circle, Mighty Networks, and School. They work a little bit differently, all those, but School is the one that I'm really into, and there you can find me there, and you can connect. You can follow me there, and there is also a School community that I'm developing. It's not ready, but in that School community, I will share value about myself and my journey, and also I have courses that I will develop, and then to begin with, and then much more. So there's things happening there, and so I would like you to check that out, and then also still have this link open that I have had for a couple of soon a month, not a month yet, but there's a link to a test, a quiz, which is called a scorecard. You can answer 10 questions, and then you see a percentage of how ready you are as a coach or consultant with your business. So this is if you're interested, or to have your own business, or if you have already, you want to see your score in this current situation. So that's the two things I would like to give you. That's more like to share with you, and also I have this 10 questions. If you would like to have, I can share also these 10 steps to change. Yeah, so that's what we had for at the end. And you had it for, was it how long was your offer available?
I'll make it ongoing. I'll make it an ongoing, but I'll throw in a little bonus for the first 5 people who respond.
Okay, for the first 5 people. And was it in within a week, 2 week, or how long?
Yeah, so I'm for the first 5 people, or the people who respond by next Friday, I will throw in a little bonus in addition to the guide.
And yeah, so for me also, I have this scorecard open for a couple of weeks still, and then I close it down. I think 2 weeks. 2 weeks is it will be still available, and when you do that, you will receive some good value bombs in at the end. It's a good way if you are starting out with your business. Is really good to have that knowledge. And then something else then I don't think something else about this, but I would like to add now. I don't know if it's a good moment, but just a little bit about change. And then when I have said this, I don't really have anything else today, because I don't have any more time now. My time is out for a while ago, but it's fine. It's but it's I don't know. Yeah, we have talked for a long time. It has been. Uh, 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 I have enjoyed this, but of course, you can't keep on forever.
Go on,
But
let's.
you need to take a rest. And of course, we could leave this on and take a rest for a couple of hours, and then when we go put on the camera again, we have all the weekend for weekend. We have all the weekend in front of us. So
Fish and chip break on a Friday, then come back. Exactly.
yeah. uh, but just to add something, I always want to add things. I want to do really good, really well. Of course, that's why I have a lot of ideas here that I haven't talked about, and that's usually how it is. You have a lot of things, but you just have time to go through a couple of things, and that's good because you can focus on couple of key things and then take that with you, instead of having too much and just talk too quickly about them. But this is about change and embracing the future, and there's different models. And if you haven't heard about it, this is a good model to start with. It's called, they are different, but this one, I like this one good because it focuses on change more in a better way, not like only a goal. It's more like change. It's called a cigar model, and for our gentlemen's cigar is always welcome. I don't know, I don't smoke cigars, but
No, that's
some
service.
but it's quite manly to smoke a cigar. Nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's what I have embraced now. Like you are allowed to do whatever you want. You are allowed to do manly things if those things you think are manly. Because we also, because I want to at the same time I want to fight the commonality, the common way of things, and
Perceived wisdom.
and then our current situation is that you should, as a man, don't identify with anything manly, or like it shouldn't be that. So that's why I say things that I believe that this is a manly thing to do, and then I say that it is, and you can do it. So example, to smoke a cigar can be a manly thing, and that is like going against the common narrative at the moment. So in a way, I'm always against the narrative, and because it's popular to do everything about manliness and masculinity, to throw that in the trash bin, I encourage manly things. But to say that they are, I don't believe that you need to smoke cigars just to feel that you are that. But in itself, it is quite manly, and that's okay, I believe. So I don't know. You don't have to explain those things, but for some people, it's really important that you explain those things. But I just believe that you can do whatever you want and say what you want.
At least you haven't given
No,
any brand names there, Torbjörn.
No, I don't even know any cigar brand names. I couldn't say. Cuban cigar, I don't know. Is that a brand? I don't know. It's a
Oh,
type of
Havana cigar, yes, I've heard of those, but that's about it. I've had a sheltered life, you see.
But now we're not going to smoke the cigar. We're going to cut it into pieces.
Digest
And
it.
it's yeah. Try to. It's five pieces to digest here. And it starts with the C, which is your current reality, where you are now. You need to ask yourself, where am I now? And then you go to from your current reality, you go to ideal reality. That's here up above where I want to be. What's my future level? What's my future state? What I want to be in. And then you go to the G, which is your gaps. What stands behind me from to go from my current level to my future level, my future state, where I want to be. What's in there in between? And then you go to the action. How will I get from my current state to the future state I want to be in? What kind of work do I need to do, and what I'm going to do? And then review. The last part that you need to digest is how you know where you are going. Am I going in the right direction? And how are you measuring all this? Because otherwise it is quite difficult to make it happen. So that was that model, and now I don't really have anything else to say. We will share share them somehow, these things we want to share when this live is over. So I want to thank you for being here. Those who are here, people have come and gone, and also thank you. But and that's good, of course. Those that people are watching here and seeing us, that's really great. But most of all, it's our time together here, you and me, and that has been really great. And that's what I'm always take with me, those things, that the shared space, the shared the time together. Also, when I'm doing this alone, it's always good for myself. I get into a certain state, so I enjoy that.
I've enjoyed it too. Thank you, Torbjörn. And thank you to everybody who has watched live or is going to watch the replay. And I hope that we've been able to give you some value. You've certainly seen that we both of us have a character to us. We've got strong personalities which have evolved and developed over the years. And I hope that we've been able to give you some thoughts in terms of how 2024 is shaping up for you at the moment and in what ways it might shape up even better. And I hope we've also given you some stimulus so that you'll be able to take away from this some ideas, not only about how things might be better, but also how they could be better if you take the relevant action. And I'm always going to have the cigar model on my mind now. I'll be thinking about it after I've gone to bed. But I won't go out and buy any. I won't go that far.
Yeah, you should arrange a workshop where you go through the cigar model, and then you have this actual cigar, because there's a whole cigar what I don't know what you call it, cigar smoking. It's on its own. It's a, what do you say, an own profession, own area of expertise.
It's a bespoke area of expertise. It's a bespoke area.
So then you could have that as a workshop. You have someone explaining it and doing it, how you should handle the cigar and whatnot, and then you do the cigar exercise and work with it in a more extensive way.
I think I'd probably just use an image of a cigar.
Yeah.
I've been led astray too many times in the past. That's not a hint, ladies and gentlemen, by the way. I'm a good boy these days. But we've all had our moments, otherwise we wouldn't be human.
Yeah. But what people at least are saying is that cigar would be more healthy. At least you smoke them in a different way. That they are thicker, they are more compact somehow with it, and you don't. Yeah, the way you smoke them would be healthier. So, but the word is changing, and I don't know what's the cost of a cigar. I don't know. It might be quite expensive.
I've no idea either.
And for me, I believe that cigars even more. But I don't like the smoking of them, but I like the smell of them before they are smoked. So that's really, I like. That's something I really like, but I don't like smoking anything. But the cigars, that's in movies you can see people smelling them, and all that. It's a certain way you treat them. So if you just can hold yourself that you don't smoke the cigar, and then you can just smell it, then that's fine.
I bet those movie sets have a heavy insurance cost attached to them.
Yeah.
With all those cigars around.
How they influence us. Yeah. That's interesting also. How much movies are a representation of reality, or if we are creating our reality, like, and the common reality from the movies, based on the movies, which one is controlling who or creating which one?
Oh, well, I think the movie star, or certainly the established movie star, and Clint Eastwood is coming to mind, because I have a feeling that was it cigars he smoked, or was it cigarettes? But he's coming to mind anyway. I think the actors inject a little bit of their own personality and also their own experience into their roles, and that's what helps them to portray that role in the most vivid way. I think if you had no connection at all, of course some actors are excellent and don't need any connection, actresses by the way also, but I think usually they will have some awareness, whether that's by experience, observation, or whatever, in the subject matter of the role that they're portraying, and that is how they actually do it to best effect. So, for example, if you were to watch a soap opera, not that I do these days, but I used to, if you were to watch a soap opera and you think about one of the principal characters in that soap opera who is portrayed in whatever way it is, a serial adulterer, perhaps an alcoholic, or whatever it is, I think usually the person who is portraying it, while not necessarily having experience of said thing, may have observed it at some point during their life, which is what enables them to
Mm.
bring it to life most vividly when they are acting.
Mm. Yeah. So sometimes the best actors are playing the role that is more that is comes natural for them. It's that's what I see in certain actors do well in certain roles, and that's what a good actor should do. It's a partly their own identity, personality, and then the character, and then they do that type of roles, and that's the best combination. And a good actor can also portray many roles and characters, and sometimes they have no experience of that type of person that they are characterizing, and
Sure.
then that, of course, if it's a influential actor, then that can change how people perceive that thing, then, which could not be a well representation of reality. So
Mm.
of course, yeah. And then they have a script and all this editing that makes them to behave in a certain way. So it's not always the actor, it's also the scripting and everything that's how it's predicted. And also it's a story, it's a fictional often story, so it doesn't have to be realistic, but some movies are, of course, realistic, try to be realistic.
And others will study in detail the subject matter which they're portraying as well in order to get the understanding that they need to put it across.
Uh,
I don't speak from experience, of course, but I'm not professional anyway.
all right, all right. Do we have it? Do you want to add anything else? I'm quite ready over here.
I think just to say again, it's been a very engaging experience. Thank you to Bjorn for the opportunity. Thank you to everybody that's been watching live and is going to watch on the replay. Hope you've got a few positive ideas out of it. One of the great things about having a joint webinar like this is you get two people for the price of one, and you get the opportunity to debate with the other person or exchange ideas with the other person. And I think sometimes it makes for a more engaging experience than only having the one person in isolation. Although I think each of us is very good by themselves also. I would say that, wouldn't I? But I'm sitting down, although I'm quite tall. The
You're
ceiling
allowed
is quite some distance away and the head's not about to make contact with it. So I'm okay.
Yeah.
But it's been good. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is really good, and every moment, every constellation is different. You can also be more than two people. Often it is two people. You are two people in a sort of conversation in the dialogue. You can be three and more. Also, three is also quite good. But when you the difference from being alone is that someone can take over when you when you get lost in your thought, or you need some sort of support, some that the other can you get immediate response that is this clear enough, do people understand what I just said, and the other person can add something, or you can get the other person to fill in. You can, there's so many ways you can support and use each other in
Definitely.
this type of situation. So many times you look at YouTube videos and there's only one person there, and it's scripted, or you can talk freely. That's often what you're used to, but it could be more one on one. What do you call it? doing the video somehow.
Well, intimacy. I think one of the great hallmarks of a good video is intimacy. So the person who is doing it, or the people who are doing it, establish a connection with the audience that makes it appear that they're talking directly to each individual. And obviously, if they want their recording to have maximum success, effect, impact, resonance, they want to have as many people watching it as possible. But they want each person individually to feel like that broadcast is aimed at them. And that's a hallmark of a good video, I think, which means that it's not simply talking to or talking at the people who are viewing, but actually speaking to them, having a genuine conversation with them.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've made it, if you're a YouTuber, when you've got the reaction and when you've got the comments that reflect that you've achieved that.
Yeah, how we know when you're a YouTuber. Yeah.
I should make that a resolution for this year, shouldn't I? Become a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Sorry, intention, not resolution. I meant set the intention.
Yeah. Easily you say those common words, but you don't always mean what you say. But do you? If you say the example, you said the wrong word, but does that have an effect on you or not? That's interesting to see.
Yes, because if I say I'm going to set a resolution, then going by my previous experience, I'm not going to do anything about it. So it's just a resolution or just a gesture. But if I set an intention, that means I plan how it's going to look. What's the finished product going to look like? And how would I know that it was working? Which in this case would mean that I've established a YouTube channel, I've established a rapport with my audience, and the figures and the comments are reflecting that. But I would set out steps that I have to take also in order to do that, and I give myself target deadlines by which to achieve each of those steps. So that is my difference between resolution and intention. Intention is action-based, resolution is gesture, nothing more.
Okay. That's something new. For me, it's rarely that I hear new things, new thoughts. That's in the beginning of your journey, personal development, coaching, knowledge journey, whatever, what you are interested in. You get a lot of new things every day, all the time. But when you are the more you go, the harder it is to get those new thoughts. You could say that this is something new. This is how you can think about it. This is what this means. There are always new, but they happen. The intensity of that feeling is more rare. Yeah. So that's of course a downside with going into this. That when you have done it for a while, the intensity of new realizations will decrease, or you are getting a little bit habituated to them. That means also that so much you should go back to and remember from before. You shouldn't always. The solution to that is not always to find even more and better things. It's just to go back to those things and remind yourself and look at them again. Yes. So that's really about that's. Yep.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Remind, refresh, redo if necessary, and keep going.
Mm-hmm. And we could keep going on forever. Yeah, 2.5 hours. Let's wait for 10 seconds, and we are 2.5 hours in. That is, it is quite too long for people to watch, but they'll at least see that we have been on here for 2.5 hours now, 2.5 hours live.
We've gone the extra mile. We've gone over and above.
and but it's only up until now that I feel that we have said what we wanted to say today, and that I think it's more important in a way that you are really strict with the time. That depends. If you have a big audience, then of course you need to end a certain time, but we can go on here now. So, but I will think I will draw the line here
Okay.
and end it now 2.5 hours in. Otherwise, it's getting to some type of marathon. And
We're trying to establish your record. That's how it will look.
yeah. But I think we're quite far from the record.
Oh, I
Still.
think so. I think we'd have another few days to get anywhere near the record.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
been really, really good. And it's been a free discussion, free flow of ideas, which I think is what people appreciate. And also, I think they will have seen that both of us, while we have some serious ideas, are also free spirits in the sense that we're creative. We try and speak to people, not at them. And we can resonate in our different ways with where people might be at the moment because we were those people a few years ago.
Yeah. I hope that, and I will think about that I want to speak to people, not at them, and I hope that they can see that. And I think maybe you do it when you like. How can you know which way you are speaking? Are you speaking to them or at them? But if you have the intention to speak to them, maybe you then do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes when you're alone, it's different. But that's what I want to do. I think that's really good to take to remember to speak to people and not at them. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so thank you for this time together that we did this thing. We have talked about it for a long time, and now when we have talked so long, it's quite difficult to end it because we are so used to continue talking. But I will just end it with thank you for this time. Thank you for if you are watching the recording, it's really great. We will share the bonuses and the resources and the valuable resources and things that we can share with you. We will share it afterwards. So thank you very much, and see you next time.
See you next time, guys. Thank you for watching.